today, I choose love over anger. Just for today, I choose love over fear. Just for today, I maintain an awareness towards all blessings within my life. Just for today, I will be of service with compassion and diligence. Just for today, I extend kindness to all sentient beings. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hello guys, welcome back. So, last week we talked about finding courage. This is what the author has to say. And again, I'm reading The Yamas and the Niyamas by Deborah Adele. Finding our courage. We only have to look around us to see that fear abounds. It abounds in cowardly faces that turn away, and violent attacks, and walls of protection, and bins of possessions, and numerous unkind words and gestures. In an abundant world, hoarders take more than their share, leaving others lacking. Wars are started and fought to seize the goods and keep the power. All around the world, children's innocence is destroyed by abuse and hoard. If we look closely, we can trace all of these acts of greed, control, and insecurity back to their root: fear. Fear creates violence. If we are to begin to address these fears, we need to know the difference between the fears that keep us alive and the fears that keep us from living. The first kind of fear is instinctual and is built in us for survival. The second kind of fear is fear of the unfamiliar. The unfamiliar can become an abundant place for our exploration once we realize this fear lives only in our imagination. It is only our minds that have created the turmoil in our guts and kept us hostage to the possibility of our own lives. An example of fear that lives only in the imagination might be skydiving. For me, the thought of jumping out of a plane at high altitude and remembering to open my parachute somewhere along the way sends cold shivers down my spine and giant rumblings of fear in my gut. All of this is happening in my body in this very moment, and yet I have never experienced this activity. For me to walk into this fear, I would first imagine a different scenario for myself. Something that looks like adventure and fun. Something where I am competent and collected as I jump from heaven to earth. And then where I really to step into my courage, I would call a pilot. Seeking out people and experiences we would normally avoid provides a fertile place to learn new things about ourselves and about life. Even those we might call enemies have much to teach us. People we have previously avoided will open up new ways of thinking and will give us pieces of ourselves. As we walk into our fears with both people and experiences, we will find that our sense of self has grown. Our view has expanded. The world suddenly looks like a bigger place, and we are more competent to navigate in it. As we expand ourselves into these new places, our minds and our hearts grow more open, and we have less need to be violent. Thus, to create a life and a world free of violence is first and foremost to find our own courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to be afraid without being paralyzed. Courage is found by facing our fears, the small ones, the fat ones, the embarrassing ones, and the really big ones, and even the scary ones. To live the fullest that our own life is inviting us into, we often have to let ourselves be afraid and do it anyway. If we keep ourselves safe, how will our courage grow? One of the reasons for Gandhi's unmatched power was that he continued to stay with life. He didn't run when life got too confusing or difficult. He stayed and learned from the moment, and in the process, he became a skillful teacher no one could match, and a force that no one could stop. For Gandhi, fear became a stimulus to develop his courage. So just meditate on that as you reflect back on the last 7 days, not several, I mean, several, but 7 to be technical. A week ago, we talked about Ahimsa. We introduced the idea of nonviolence. And in our exploration of nonviolence, as suggested by the author Deborah Adele, was to practice courage by doing one thing daily that you wouldn't normally do. And reflecting on how that has changed any aspect of your life by finding courage, stepping outside of your comfort zone, doing something you wouldn't typically do. One thing I did is I cried in front of a group of people, which I find it hard to cry, but when I do cry, I would like for it to be alone by myself. However, I found myself overwhelmed with tears within these last 7 days. And it took a lot out of me to not only let those tears flow out of me, but to really just express myself. I was given the opportunity to be seen and heard as we come to closing within my 200-hour registered yoga training, and it was a vulnerable moment. And so that was one of the acts of courage. And so I'm not sure how I feel. I'm still reflecting on that. But yeah. So this week, week 2, since we spoke a week ago today, I want to practice the second point made by the author, and it's called creating balance. This week, guide your balance as you would your most precious resource. Don't find your balance from a place in your head of what it should look like. Instead, find guidance from the messages of your body. In this moment, do you need more sleep, more exercise? Do you need to eat differently? Do you need to pray? Do you need some variety in your life? Act on the messages of your body and explore what balance looks like for you this week. Notice the effects on your life and on others. I think this is a really cool one, and I'm really excited to jump into this week, particularly because I accepted a really amazing opportunity last week, and as a result of accepting that opportunity, I didn't practice Ahimsa to its fullest and allowing myself to rest. So I kind of pulled an all-nighter on a little project that I was doing as a result of this opportunity that I had. And the next day I was just tired. My body was just like, go to sleep, go to sleep. And I was just fighting it and still trying to push myself to do more. It's like, but it's still light outside. Let me do all this stuff. And it's, I had to really sit myself down and say, you know what, girl, it's time to go to sleep. You've been working. You've been not allowing your body time to rest. So yeah, this week I'm really looking forward to finding balance or creating balance and seeing where that takes me, whether it's more sleep, more consistent yoga practice, who knows? I'm open to whatever there is out there for me to learn, and I encourage you, and I not only encourage you, but I invite and encourage you to do this practice with me as well this week and see what comes up for you. And then a week from today, we can come back and talk a little bit more about what Deborah Adele had to say about creating balance. For our reflection. So thank you Thank you so much for your time and space and for sharing that with me this day, whichever day it is. Today for me is Tuesday, April the 10th, I believe, or 9th. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, whether you find this video on the day it was recorded or the next day or a year later, thank you. Thank you for sharing your time and space with me. The light within me acknowledges the light within you. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings in the world be happy and free, even you. Namaste.